Thank you, Dr. Somayalagon, for wonderful introduction. My thanks also goes to Professor Kannabiran Ravishankar, who invited me for this program. And thanks to Periyar International USA, Center for Inquiry Canada, Humanist Association of Toronto. In fact, it is a very difficult situation to speak at the last, because whatever I wish to speak would have been spoken by the speakers before me. So I need to pick up topics from here and there to fill the gap. Having said that, the topic given to me is practical methods to inspire secularism in youths. It would be an odd thing to define secularism among humanists, because everyone knows what secularism is. However, conventionally, secularism means what we call it as the separation of state from the church. That's how it started, the separation of state from the church. And minimal or no interference of government on religious matters by treating all religions equally. This is another aspect. But in the Indian context, I would also say there is a third aspect to secularism. One is regulation of religious affairs by the government. That is one of the reasons why temples are still under the control of the government. We will come to that point later. Why Periyar is so special? Why Dravidian movement is so special? Because throughout the world, if you see, there are only very few movements have lived for more than a century. In any part of the world, you take it. And Dravidian movement is one of those movements which started in the year somewhere in 1920s formally and early 19th century informally, and still it is marching ahead. So what is the reason for the success of Dravidian model or Dravidian movement and Periyar, who led this fight to bring social justice? What is so special about it? In the aftermath of in the later 18th century, or maybe the earlier 19th century, 1900s, there was heavy industrialization. Because of the industrialization, the concept of capitalism came into existence. Capitalism is nothing but private ownership and free market system, where the government control will not be there in the market. And any enterprise can freely compete in the market, and it is the fittest will survive. There are various benefits of capitalism as well. One of the major benefits is technological innovations, because capitalism tends to innovate more and more things. Only then it can survive, because when in 1990s this phone would have been like a brick. But in 2000 the phone would, because of the technological innovations, the phone would come to this handy, and with all this. So there are various benefits of capitalism as well. But what has happened is, because of this concept of survival of the fittest without giving any opportunity for the disadvantaged section of the society, the capital started, both the intellectual and the wealth capital, started accumulating in the hands of very few people, which resulted in the haves and have-nots, which resulted in discrimination and widening of social inequality, and this resulted in economic collapses various. The Great Depression of the 1930s is an example. To counter this capitalism is the concept or ideology which came into existence is the communism. Communism is nothing but the just strikingly opposite of capitalism, or maybe in a different way of what capitalism says. That is the ownership of markets, the government controls the market, and everyone will be given equal opportunity to compete. The government will take the share. So, particularly after the First World War, capitalism and communism started spreading across the whole of the world. I don't think any country in the world which is immune to either of this or a combination of this. But in India also is not immune. In India also capitalism and communism came to our doorsteps. But the problem with India is strikingly different, which many leaders or many movements couldn't recognize, even the communist movement in India. Because everyone thought that economic inequality is the root cause of all the inequalities in the country. Whereas In India, we follow a religion which stratifies its own followers on the basis of birth. And not only stratifies on the basis of birth, it also identifies labor and stratifies the labor on the basis of this social stratification. This resulted in the social inequality, and because of this social inequality, the economic inequality exists. It is on the reverse. This is exactly the opposite of what communism preached. Communism said economic inequality is the root cause of social inequality. Whereas in India, the social inequality is the root cause of economic inequality. And this is the reason why when a Brahmin is put on a higher pedestal, when he does a puja, the puja is put on a higher pedestal than a manual scavenger, whereas the manual scavenging or the scavenging, let us talk about scavenging, or cleaning the toilets, is a more holier job than puja, because puja can wait for a day or wait for a week. Whereas cleaning the toilet cannot wait, that is an emergency service. Whereas for a pujari, we will pay whatever he asks. Whether it is 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees, he is placed on a higher, whatever the godman or whatever the thing. Whereas when somebody comes to clean the toilet, if he asks 50 rupees, we will say, why should I give you 50? I will give you 25 rupees. There also we will try to cut corners. This is mainly because of the social stratification. This was identified by the Dravidian movement in early 1900 and aggressively taken by Thandai Periyar. That is the reason why Thandai Periyar is revered so much in that particular part of the country, because many things are there. For example, I do not go into the Justice Party history because there is a shortage of time. The food is waiting for everyone. I'll touch upon it. But so the second aspect why the Dravidian movement and Thandai Periyar is revered so much is, we have got great leaders. We have got great leaders who fought for independence struggle. We all hail the leaders who fought for independence struggle like anything, as if they are the only leaders on earth who have brought us independence. Forgetting the fact that Britishers ruled this country only for 200 years. It is only a phenomenon. Whereas Thandai Periyar and Dravidian movement is fighting a menace which took the country for the last 3,000 years. After 50 years, to my son or my grandson, if you go and ask, since it is going on record, I don't want to tell the names of the freedom fighters, they will say it is a history, because Britishers ruled for 200 years. Britishers are just a phenomenon, like, say, for example, Aurangzeb or Mughal invasion, or maybe the Hindu kings who invaded. They come and go, that's it. But the social system which has plagued this country for centuries together, or thousands of years together, which continues to do that, is being fought by Periyar, and he even though he is not there, he is continuing to fight the cause. And that is the reason why Periyar and Dravidian movements will live and last in the history of mankind in India. Now, coming to the topic of indoctrination, because I am given a topic. When I saw this, I thought, what topic? It's a boring topic. Let me practical methods to inspire secularism in youths. Anyways, but the problem is, how will you inspire secularism among the youth? We have a fundamental problem, because we cannot separate childhood from youth. Youth is as a result of childhood, because childhood growing into youth. For everything in this country, everything is in the country, the world, whether it is driving, whether it is going to a job, whether it is to vote, you have a minimum age limit. But only for a religious indoctrination, you don't have an age limit. Without touching upon the conscience of a child, without the consent of the child, the moment the child is born, because every child is born as an atheist. No child cries Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu or Jesus or Allah. Every child is an atheist. But this compulsory religious indoctrination without the consent of the child makes a child as a foot soldier for a God whose existence is not even proven beyond any reasonable doubt till now. So what happens if he is a foot soldier for a god? When he grows, he will fight for the god. If he is a Hindu, then he will fight for Hindu gods, saying that my God is supreme than your God is supreme than my God. The fight starts. Within Hinduism, he will say, my Lord Krishna is superior than Lord Shiva, Shiva is superior than Lord Vishnu and Brahma, because Hindu religion is nothing but a conglomeration or a consortium of multiple religions. It is not a single religion. So, if we are not able to control this indoctrination among the children, how are we going to control or inspire secularism among the youth? Because these are the children who are going to grow. I don't have an answer, honestly, because it is a very complex question. But the only thing which I can foresee is, A, introduce legislations. In US, some legislations were introduced, where even in the year 1962 or some, US said the student administrators, that is the school administrators and management, should not lead a prayer. If the children want to do a prayer, they can do, but the school management should not lead a prayer. Again in 2000 also there was something like that. But later the court said, we cannot go with that particular aspect, because it is also concerned about individual freedom, without understanding the fact that the freedom of conscience will start growing only when the child grows into a majority age, not when he is a minor. And this is strikingly contradictory to the various laws and principles which is enunciated. So, for example, I'll just put on one slide, third slide. Who is managing the slide? Okay, Idua? Okay. Yeah, this is two quotes. Christopher Hitchens: children have a human right not to have their minds crippled by exposure to the other people's bad ideas. A.C. Grayling: we are all born atheists, and it takes a certain amount of work on the part of the adults in our community to persuade children differently. This is the most important thing. We call a certain called Bill of Rights, International Bill of Rights, which comprises of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, and International Covenant for Cultural and Educational Rights. Article 18 very clearly says, everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief. I don't want to go into the second aspect. I'll just restrict myself to the first aspect. Let us read carefully. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. The same thing has been replicated in Indian Constitution as well. Subject to public order, morality, and health, and to the other provisions of this part, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and right freely to profess, practice, and propagate religion. What is the similarity? Anyone can identify the similarity? Yeah. Exactly. All the laws, all the tenets, what it says is conscience comes first and religion comes next. What is conscience? Conscience means I can act as per my own conscience. I can believe in a particular God. I can disown a particular God. I can question the existence of a particular God, or even I can question the existence of God per se. That is, I can be a believer, or I can be an atheist, I can be an agnostic, I can be whatever I can. But this indoctrination of children at the younger age violates these tenets, because conscience comes only when a person is able to think freely. Also freedom. So unless and until we address this particular aspect very vehemently, instilling secularism among youth, whatever we say, we can say individualism, pluralism, teach pluralism. What is that? Because whenever we say, I like my mother's mother cooked food, the food cooked by mother, I like the sambar cooked by my mother, means because we are used to that from our birth. And when we are being indoctrinated by these religious beliefs, which is an evil on its own, saying that unless and until you believe in a God, you will not be a good man. That is what it means. Because to make you as a good man, or you will be fearful or truthful to somebody only if you think that somebody is watching you. Unless and until we take out the child from that particular stage, I'm not sure how we are going to instill or inspire secularism among the youth.
It's like the age of fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. Second one is rationalism. This is what Dravidian movement is doing right from beginning. Tandai Periyar and other Dravidian leaders also does the same thing. Introduce rationalism, introduce more and more science into the subjects, and neutralize the effects of religion. Religious thoughts in the textbooks. If we are not able to get that, change the curriculum. For example, today I was also having a discussion with the Tamil Nadu Finance Minister, Dr. Palniyal Tyagarajan. What we have to do is, till now in the school curriculum, we have got in the curriculum the stories about Akbar, the stories about Ashoka, stories about even Tirupur Kumaran who died of this one. But there is no story about Periyar, there is no story about Anna. Change the curriculum. Let us understand what a social justice movement means. Unless you change the curriculum, how the child will know? You are inspiring or instilling the ideas of North Indian kings who never ruled India, the southern states. And even the studies of Rajaraja Cholan or Rajendra Cholan is very minimal. There is no Chola. We only study Chola or Chera or Pandya kings only during colleges in the histories, or maybe 10th or 12th. Whereas we study about Akbar in class 8th or 9th. So there is an asymmetric conflict exists in the curriculum itself. Likewise, when we talk about instilling, inspiring among the youth, I am a lawyer. We go to law schools. How many of us, how many lawyers in the law schools know all these legislations, most of these legislations are a product of social justice movement. Reservation is a product of social justice movement. Reservation, people say, it is not reservation, this is what reservation is. Why should we, the debate starts immediately, why should we have a reservation? Why, who introduced reservation? Nobody knows. If you ask a law student, they don't know. It is Justice Party in the year 1920 started reservation through Communal GO 613. It is Justice Party which introduced the noon mill system. Still we say Kamaraj is the one who introduced the noon mill system. Whereas we are the ones who introduced noon mill system in the year 1920s. What is the purpose of the noon mill system? At least people for the meals will go to the school, they will get education. Education makes a man rationally developed. Likewise, in the year 1989, it is Dr. Karunanidhi who has given women equal ancestral right. But none of these are in the law curriculum. So when a lawyer comes out of it, he studies about contract law, he studies about tortious liability, or maybe constitutional law. But what contribution the social justice movement? Tandai Periyar fought for widow remarriage. It was never mentioned anywhere. We have to go and speak to others. When we ourselves are having colleges and schools in our own state, we are not bringing the curriculum within our system. So unless we bring all these things, it is very difficult to inspire secularism among the youth. Therefore, these are the measures which we need to take out and bring parity and aggressively bring curriculum changes, aggressively take out children from indoctrination to achieve this. Only one thing, Periyar will be remembered forever for the simple reason he is the only leader who fought this menace which has plagued the system for the last 3,000 years. All other leaders might have fought a phenomenon. They might also be remembered, but their remembrance will be limited, whereas Periyar will be remembered forever and he will continue to exist among ourselves. Thank you.